Sorry about all the racket, but this is, after all, the Arab Street. Before Shimon Peres, here's Dateline's Nick Lazaridis in New Orleans. And the story of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina is not a pretty one.
These jazz funeral processions are an integral part of life in New Orleans. This one is to pay tribute to those who lost their lives during and after Hurricane Katrina. It's an upbeat affair, but there's very little to celebrate here. Almost 6 months after Katrina's devastation, there's a widespread fear that the city will never be the same again. That city authorities don't want poor black residents back in the reconstructed New Orleans.
It's a reality. It's not no fear. It's a blatant reality. That's all they are concerned with about is property. Human life don't mean a damn thing in New Orleans.
Before Katrina, the city's lower Ninth Ward district was home to 14,000 families, most of them poor and black. Unlike New Orleans' wealthier suburbs, here there's still no power, no water and no rebuilding 5 months after Katrina. In fact, the residents of the lower Ninth Ward are struggling for what they see as the very survival of their suburb.
No demolition! No demolition! No demolition! No demolition!
The focus of this demonstration outside City Hall is to stop the City Council demolishing any more homes in the lower Ninth Ward.
I grew up in the lower Ninth Ward, and I will not stand to have any homes demolished. I think it's unfair and it's a conspiracy.
Not only have residents been banned from returning, the City Council has proposed a system of compulsory acquisition for homes they want to demolish. Under the law of eminent domain, the council says it has the right to buy homes and land without the owner's consent.
We can come together and say this is wrong, and
suspecting a conspiracy to keep them away for good, residents took their fight to the courts.
we can go to the courts as a refuge and a haven to seek justice. That in this battle for restoration, it is not left to the executive branch of government that has kept electricity out, water out, blue roofs out, FEMA trailers out, Red Cross out, everything out.
Last month, residents were encouraged by the fact that they'd won a temporary restraining order against any further demolition. But as today's demonstration is wrapping up, a new crisis erupts.
We have a resident on the phone, whoever it in here, we have a resident on the phone right now. She's watching them at Galvez and Renee bulldozing a home in violation of the restraining order that we already have against any bulldozing going on in the lower Ninth Ward. Activists, organizers, our students, we need to get down there now. Lawyers, we need to get to court.
15 minutes later, residents, lawyers and activists converge on the city work team bulldozing in the lower Ninth Ward.
Give me the city attorney's number.
The workers claim that they've simply been told by city officials to clear rubble from the sidewalks, but the crowd will have none of it.
We will move the people. Just get your dozer stopped. Ain't no danger as long as they stop.
Just outside of the work zone. And everyone's safe.
Ain't no work happening, right?
The bulldozing work is being supervised by the US Army Corps of Engineers, the same authority which was in charge of New Orleans' doomed levee system. When an Army Corps official arrives, he's quickly swamped by protesters.
Sidewalk debris cleanup. There is no demolition down here, and none is set to be down here anytime in the future right now.
But what about when there's a house in the street, sir?
No
Is that
comment.
considered demolition or house or street cleaning?
Considered debris by the city, and that is not on the agenda yet.
And that verifies, I mean, is against the court order, is that correct?
I have no comment.
Step to the right. And let him
These are people's homes. Shame on you.
Quickly overwhelmed by protesters, the work site is slowly closed down and the lawyers swing into action.
They are in violation of a court order. You know, we've got the film now.
What have they agreed?
Are they moving out? Whoa. What are they doing?
It's moving, go!
What are they doing? Are they leaving? They're leaving. They're leaving. All right! Yes.
Just a few blocks away from where the bulldozers were stopped, Byron LaFrance is cleaning up his home. His first opportunity to come back and inspect the damage was in early December. At that time, he says he was almost shot outside his own home.
Well, my daddy was right here with me. We was right here in my yard. Lady National Guard and the man National Guard came over here harassing me, pulled a AK-47 rifle out, pointed at me to shoot me. Not bullshitting you. I grabbed a gun that I had. My wife went and grabbed the gun that we had in the house. But by the time that happened, my daddy said, don't start and go get the superiors.
By the time Byron was allowed into his house, there was nothing left to salvage. But it is structurally sound. He spent over a month stripping his walls and cleaning the mud and mould plastered throughout his home. With no help from the government, he's used his savings to clean up his and his father's house.
I mean, I put $2,300 on this one and $2,300 on here, so that's about a good $6,000 right there for two houses to be cleaned up.
Where's that money come from? Insurance?
Out of my pocket.
Out of your pocket?
Out of my pocket. Out of my pocket. I haven't got a lick from my insurance company yet.
What about the city government? Have they helped you?
No. I've been doing, matter of fact, it's a family. We have more family down here than anything, and we sticking together. And that's basically what we're doing. We're sticking together. And if you don't, you're going to be out in the cold.
You know, it's so closer to what you call Bourbon Street. You know,
Byron's father, August, who's lived in the Lower Ninth Ward all his life, is convinced the city government wants to turn over the suburb to developers.
You know, they called this a long time ago when I was a kid coming up, this was trash land. And they sold it for little or nothing.
Now it's rich land.
Now it's a rich land, you know, for tourists. And they want to put like an airport back up in here.
With no essential services to the suburb and the threat that if they're found by police in their homes after the nighttime curfew, they'll be shot, residents like Byron have to leave for temporary shelter outside the city every night.
Everybody wants to come home. It's just that we can't come home because the government is trying to keep us away from home.
Y'all ain't seen nothing.
The body of August's best friend was only found a month ago.
Right over, you see that house? That house right over there? With the black reef on it? That's where they found that man a month ago. Now, how they were searching for bodies, and they're still finding bodies down here. Well, what's going on? What are the city officials doing? What are your government doing? What are your president doing? And they're still finding bodies. They don't care about people down here?
The National Guard stopped me, and I had to go and get a colonel from across the river to escort me to my own house. But after that,
they tried to shoot me and my father right in front of my house, baby.
I went and got people with weapons.
Every few days, Byron and his father attend a neighbourhood street meeting in the Lower Ninth Ward. This is the only chance residents have here to vent their feelings and plan their protest action.
Are they saying we're going to assume the financial responsibility of tearing it down? Or what? Are they saying we're going to take over that land and pay the people off? Do you know what? I'm just asking. I want to know.
What particularly galls these residents is that most of them own their homes. In fact, the Lower Ninth Ward district of New Orleans has the highest proportion of black home ownership in America.
People here are property owners and pay taxes on their land and mean to tell me they can't come back to their land?
That's what they say.
This is communism.
In some of the city's wealthier suburbs, residents already use trailers provided by the Federal Emergency Agency, FEMA, as temporary shelter while their homes are repaired. In fact, throughout the city, thousands of empty trailers are being stored on vacant lots. But in the Lower Ninth Ward, not a single trailer has been handed over. Residents now fear that with no permanent population, the law of eminent domain will be used to get rid of them.
That's the only way. Any area of the city of New Orleans that is sparsely populated, they are going to want to use the eminent domain to take over the properties. You have to repopulate. If you own the land, put in for a FEMA trailer. How will they feel if 5,000 people in the Lower Ninth Ward called up tonight and said, I want a trailer on my property right now?
Okay, where are they? Am I your shop?
At City Hall, the man whom most residents blame for their misery, Mayor Ray Nagin, says there's no plan to abandon New Orleans' poor black communities.
We are rebuilding the city. We're undoing what Katrina did. We're starting with the areas that had little flooding or no flooding, and then we're working toward the river, and we're moving out as utilities become available.
Beyond explaining that the hardest hit communities will take the longest to repair, Mayor Nagin seems to have few details about the repopulation of New Orleans' poor black suburbs and housing projects.
Now the issue is what other services are going to be out there. Grocery stores, Walmarts, you name it. And every individual has to make the decision on what's best for them.
What are you saying that you have for the Lower Ninth Ward?
With plans? Trying to deal with this lawsuit right now.
Right, but I mean, is there a vision?
Well,
these people seem to have a lot of concerns.
I'm just not focused on the Ninth Ward. I mean, that seems to be the sexy thing that you guys are really, turned on by. I'm working with the entire city, and there's 3 or 4 different distinct areas that had the most devastation. The Ninth Ward happens to be one, New Orleans East, around the London Avenue Canal, and the 17th Street Canal. Those are the areas that will probably require the most resources in this rebuild.
I'd like to bring out the great mayor of the city of New Orleans, Mayor C.
At public celebrations like New Year's Eve, Nagin's brash style, once a vote winner, now gets a decidedly mixed response.
Let me just say thank you to all of you for being out here. For all the people who have come from far and wide to be in New Orleans to support this city when we needed you the most. Thank you so much for being here.
Ain't nobody touch me like Jesus. Ain't nobody touch me like Jesus. Ain't nobody move me like Jesus. Ain't nobody move me like Jesus.
With public anger at Nagin growing louder, the mayor has been carefully stage managing his appearances, like this interfaith service, where he's keen to promote his black credentials.
And all of you folk that are thinking this is an opportunity for you to kind of do something different and take control of the city, I got news for you too. This is our city, and it's going to continue to be our city. And we're not going backwards, we're going forward together and put them rocks down. Thank you.
Although much of the public resentment has been directed at Nagin, the state's governor, Kathleen Blanco, is also under intense scrutiny. According to her deputy, Lieutenant Governor Mitch Landrieu, there is a commitment from state authorities to maintain the racial mix, but helping poor blacks will need federal dollars.
The commitment has to be from the leadership that we really want to invite diversity back, so that when you go to Congress and you're asking for incentives, you make sure that you get tax incentives to rebuild moderate and low-income housing, as well as those individuals that have the ability to pay on their own. You have good planning so that when you deal with land use, you make sure that the city is open from a zoning perspective. That's a commitment that the leaders have to make based on a response to the constituents that we have. I know those of us that are in power now, those of us that seek to be in power in the future, are all committed to that particular idea.
Despite the commitment to diversity, the city hardly seems in a rush to bring back its poorest citizens. In much of the inner city, relatively undamaged public housing projects lie abandoned, with no essential services. At the St Bernard housing project, despite the hardships, some people are still living here in defiance of the law.
We still got people living in this area. You can see people walking around it as I speak right now.
Now, they're technically not supposed to be there,
technically, but they don't have no place to go. That guy right there, you see walking.
As the head of St Bernard's local church, Pastor Bruce Davenport has returned to help the few dozen needy people who've returned to the only shelter they know. But with no power or water, life here is very different to the predominantly wealthy white suburbs less than a few kilometres away.
You check the French quarters, and I bet you, I guarantee you that they have hot water, they have food, they have lights, they got all the luxury. Just look around you and see how much luxury we have.
So do you think that they're trying to cut down the black population in New Orleans?
They will cut it down. They ain't trying to cut it down. They will cut it down. They will cut it down because they figure if they cut it down, then the city will be that much better. That's what they figure.
In the past, city developers have converted poor housing projects into pricey new private apartment blocks. Pastor Davenport fears that's what's going to happen here.
When they tore down the St. Thomas project, they put condos up. So you tore our projects down and you put condos up and you didn't let us live in them.
Now, that's what a lot of people are suspicious that will happen again, isn't that right?
That's what they're afraid of. That's what they're afraid of. And this area is a good area. It's a Gentilly area, so they know good and well when they start putting houses up here, it would be out of our reach. And that's another thing that's going to spark racial tension because the blacks won't be able to afford the apartments.
The St Bernard housing project isn't the only public housing which might be up for grabs. Just down the road is what's called the Iberville project. It also housed thousands of low-income black families who are also banned from returning. Located just a few blocks from the French Quarter, many black community leaders suspect that pressure from real estate developers is behind the delay in bringing residents back here to live.
It's that golden cow. It's right by the French Quarters, right by Canal Street. They know that if they could take that, oh, they got it made.
Black community activist Malik Rahim has no doubts that there is a deliberate plan to prevent much of the city's black population from returning.
It's blatant. Why? Because they want to take the Ninth Ward. They want to make sure that if it is back, if they do rebuild, they're going to rebuild it, that it ain't going to be for poor people. And I know it won't be for blacks. That's why we are back there.
But what do you say to people that say that you're paranoid? You know?
Then come down here and see the reality of it. If I'm paranoid, come down here and prove it. But if what I'm saying is real, is truthful, then come down here and do something about the injustice that's being perpetuated by these racists, by these plantation syndicates in this city.
Malik Rahim is all too familiar with the African-American political struggle in New Orleans. As a member of the radical Black Panther movement, he was arrested 35 years ago for protesting outside poor black housing projects. He says the rage he felt back then was nothing compared to what he feels since Hurricane Katrina.
All of these warehouses that you see back here could have been used to house people in.
He took me to the bridge where black residents were prevented from crossing into white neighbourhoods when fleeing the rising floodwaters.
You couldn't cross that street if you was African American.
This street right here?
Right here. You couldn't cross that street if you was African American. There are police cars across both of those streets going either way. There are police cars sitting there. And if you went across that street, or either if you tried to, they were literally shooting the air at you.
For Malik, the authorities' response to Katrina showed their true colours.
We had black doctors from Atlanta that was trying to come in here to bring us medical supplies and to help us open up a clinic, and was turned around. Now, if you could turn around black doctors and turn around medicine, then what you're saying that the people who they was going to supply those services for don't even deserve to live. All right, how you doing this morning? All right.
The incident with the black doctors being turned away forced Malik into action. He formed a grassroots community collective to help the poor and most vulnerable citizens of New Orleans. It was named Common Ground.
I think Common Ground have stopped this city from breaking into a race riot from the very beginning, from the offset. And listen, we have only been in existence since September the 5th. And then since September the 5th, we have served over 40,000 people. That's without the government support, Red Cross, Salvation Army. Without any of their support, we have served over 40,000 people.
Are 6 buckets ready that can get the bleach in them? And what you're going to be doing is just sort of scrubbing it down really hard with bleach water. And we want to get 2 coats on today. So on, dry it. Yeah. And actually we can...
In just a few months, the Common Ground Collective has grown into a community workforce with over 800 volunteers, mostly young white college students. They are repairing structurally sound homes and set up medical clinics for residents who want to return. But as the collective has grown and gained more publicity, Malik says the gated white community across the road from his house has tried to close him down.
Main Street. But Main Street, straight from Algiers Point, came and wanted to close us down from doing distribution at my house that we've been on it for 30 years. Wanted to close us down because they said that they can't sell their lots because we was providing service. And it surrounded us, and the only reason why they put this gate up is because of the fact it's too black.
As darkness falls on the 9th Ward, the curfew and the threat of being shot comes into force. Most residents have already left. But on one street, a hard core of people has stayed on.
I said the same thing to them I said to everybody else. Roaches and black folk here to stay. They've tried everything they can to exterminate both, and we're still here.
Holding court in her front yard is Mama D. a well-known black community identity in New Orleans, she stayed at her house helping those in need throughout the hurricane and its aftermath. Now she's on a new mission, to get her people home.
Spread the word for sure to New Orleans that they need to come home. There's a statement that needs to be made to the sick, demented, immoral crew that thinks that they're going to eliminate a population of people.
Tonight, a group of black students from Mississippi has come to receive Mama Dee's advice. They plan to travel throughout the southern United States in an effort to track down former residents and encourage them to return before it's too late.
Y'all need to stay strong, because whatever happens to New Orleans, trust me, it's going to happen to every major metropolitan in America, because that's where we are. If they get away with this here, they can't call it Katrina, but they're going to call it something. And Houston is going to be the race war. It's just everywhere, they're going to give it a name. But what you have to really...
Although the authorities responsible for New Orleans' rebirth are confident that the city's unique racial and cultural mix will be maintained, it's clear that the suspicion and rage amongst the city's black community is gathering pace at a rate which has taken many by surprise. With lingering resentment about their history as slaves, the black community see their future in New Orleans as the touchstone for race relations across the nation.
I was telling the Congress at the hearing, nothing I said...
Until we deal with that racism, until we truly deal with it, New Orleans is going to always be an open sore to this nation. But if we deal with it, and we could heal it in New Orleans, we could heal it everywhere else.
A pretty dubious backwash there from Hurricane Katrina, both filmed and reported by Nick Lazaridis.